Speaker. So the motion before us today is this House believes that artificial intelligence will do more harm than good. And I'm going to take advantage of my status as the first speaker to dive a little bit into what actually artificial intelligence actually is. It's a term that's been around for about 70 years. So in the mid-50s, some people thought that they could get together for 2 months with 10 people and essentially use the new powerful computers that existed at the time and try to solve problems of artificial intelligence. So they thought that they could look at topics including natural language processing, neural networks, learning and creativity, and they believed at that point, we think a significant advance can be made in one or more of these problems if a carefully selected group of scientists work on it together for a summer. So 70 years later, you might recognize that list of topics. Modern AI still addresses these topics like natural language processing and learning and creativity, obviously with much more powerful computers than they had in the 50s and much more advanced techniques such as transformers and deep neural networks. But sort of returning to the proposition, artificial intelligence, I think it's impossible to sort of say for sure that artificial intelligence as a whole, this 70-year-old field, can do more harm than good. You can argue both of those for different bits. So I'm going to talk about a particular aspect of AI, which is generative AI, and one particular way that I feel that that type of AI can generally do more harm than good. So what is generative AI? You've probably all heard of things like ChatGPT and DALL-E and things like that. Sometimes it's described as an algorithm that can be used to create new content. And you saw the finger quotes on new. I'll return to that. So the way that these things like ChatGPT work is you give them an enormous amount of data of the sort that you kind of want to generate. People the opposite might, or some of my colleagues might talk about where that data comes from. That's another problem. I'm not going to get into that. But you give it a large amount of data of the sort that you might want to generate, process that into a model, and then your other people are able to give that model a prompt and sort of say, generate me something, of this particular type. And this is where some people say that the creativity or the novelty comes in. So for example, if you ask ChatGPT, generate me a Shakespearean sonnet on the topic of Genghis Khan. It knows about Shakespearean sonnets, it's read a lot of them. It knows about Genghis Khan, it's heard of him. So it'll probably generate you an amazing sonnet on Genghis Khan. And you could argue that that's new. But it's not really new in the sense that creative work from humans is new. Because what it is basically remixing that giant pile of training data into something that kind of feels new. And the harm that I want to talk about from that area is actually, you can think about these systems work, but they require skilled humans in a lot of different ways. So the data that they're trained on is created by skilled creative humans, writers, artists, musicians. And also, when you're using them, a skilled human needs to tell it what to do and decide whether it's done properly. And if we use these things more and more, both of those aspects of skilled humanity are actually at risk. So if people start using these generative tools more to do things like use a tool instead of paying a writer or use a tool instead of paying a musician, then there'll be less and less novel, new music in the world. And while this generation of models have been trained on the stuff generated by these humans, in the future, these models are just going to start being sort of trained on themselves, and sort of, eventually you can't get anything new if all you're training on is the output of yourself. And this is actually happening in Wikipedia. You can see that Wikipedia is a really important source of the training data for these models, and Wikipedia has more and more AI-generated content in it, which is a problem, obviously, because then it's not going to learn, you can't train anything new on those models. Similarly, in education, which I care about deeply, if students never learn the skills to do something, for example, how to, 1 minute? Okay. If students never learn how to do something properly, the fact that they can use a tool people can use a tool to generate something, you wouldn't know how to give it the right instructions, and you wouldn't know whether it had done the right thing. So the harm I can see from this particular type of AI, that I think has definitely got a potential to do more harm than good, is if we keep using these tools and integrating them more into our lives, it risks the skilled and creative aspect that makes us human, both in terms of creating the content and also in understanding whether something is the right thing for its purpose. Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker.
thanks honourable members for the invitation to participate to this debate. So as Bill Gates wisely said, the advance of technology is based on making it fit in so that you don't really even notice it, so it's part of our everyday life. This statement perfectly encapsulates the seamless integration of artificial intelligence into our daily lives. In particular, in healthcare, AI is becoming an indispensable tool for improving patients' outcome and advancing medical research. One of the most significant contributions of AI in biomedicine is its ability to enhance our understanding of the anatomy and function of major organs. This advancement is not just a statistical improvement. It translates into better diagnosis, more precise surgical planning, and ultimately improved patient care. AI has revolutionized the speed at which these tasks are performed. What once took hours or even days to accomplish manually can now be completed in less than a second. This remarkable efficiency not only saves time, but also allows healthcare professionals to focus on more complex aspects of patient care. And in that way, it enhances the overall quality of healthcare services. One of the most life-saving applications of AI in biomedicine is its ability to automatically detect abnormalities, either in physiological signals or in imaging signals. This capability is crucial in preventing sudden cardiovascular failures, in detecting cancer early, and in avoiding fatal incidents. AI systems can continuously monitor patients' vital signs and alert healthcare providers to any irregularities, enabling timely intervention and potentially saving countless lives. So let's not forget the recent groundbreaking advancements that have been recognized with the Nobel of Chemistry and Physics. This year, the godfather of AI, Professor Hinton and Professor Hopfield, were awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics for discoveries that enable machine learning with artificial neural networks. AI is indeed the equivalent of the Industrial Revolution on a cognitive level. Also to mention the Chemistry Nobel Awards awarded for the developers of AlphaFold AI that predicts protein structures. And this technology provides unprecedented abilities in tweaking the structure of viral proteins for use in new vaccines. The award celebrates computational tools that have transformed biology and have the potential to revolutionize drug discovery. This is the first time in history that scientific breakthroughs enabled by artificial intelligence has been recognized with a Nobel Prize. This also shows the monumental role of AI in the history of science and its transformative role in our lives. AI accelerates scientific discoveries. We now, for the first time in history, we can explore and prove mathematical theories that have been unresolved for decades based on artificial intelligence.
Why don't you mention the limitation in the use of AI in science, for example? Like, often the publications out there do not allow for reproducibility of results, for example. Here. Yeah.
Well, actually, I'm going to argue against that because AI experts, they have to give their source open, to have open source the code and the results. So the reproducibility is not a problem at all. But let's step back and look at the bigger picture. The government will have you believe that AI poses more threats than benefit. Yet what we are seeing in healthcare is the exact opposite. AI is democratizing access to high-quality healthcare. In regions where medical specialists are scarce, AI systems have the potential to provide expert-level analysis and support. This isn't replacing doctors, it's empowering them to serve more patients more effectively. The development of AI isn't just about keeping up with our rivals, it's about keeping up with the complexity of our own civilization. We've built a world so intricate with challenges so vast, from managing pandemics to personalizing treatments based on individual genetic profiles, from detecting diseases early to optimizing hospital operations. The human intelligence alone can no longer manage it effectively. Thank you.
Sharon is a senior lecturer and research professor in the School of Computer Science and at the University of Glasgow. She specialises in healthcare technology. So let's call them on and give them some here.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you everyone for being here. AI is certainly doing more harm than good. Rollo May, one of the co-founders of humanistic psychology, said, every organism in the world has one and only one central need, to fulfill its potentialities. And if it fails to do so, it will become sick. So for example, if we do not walk, our legs will wither, the flowing of blood, actions of heart will become weaker. And this is already happening with the widespread of IT used in our work. Our work has become more computer-facing and sedentary, without much chance of using our body potentialities. And that causes a lot of health issues. Research shows that the risk of colon cancer actually has a lot to do with this kind of sedentary work style. And with the use of AI, I'm afraid that more of this kind of risk is going to happen to our health and to our well-being. I think most of us who sit here today will consider ourselves as knowledge workers or knowledge workers to be. We'll consider ourselves to be knowledgeable, intelligible, analytical, and creative. And we are good at processing information, analyzing data, and coming up with solutions to various issues in the world. And we are proud of it because these are part of potentialities, and we find our work meaningful. And we find value in doing that kind of work and our life meaningful. Now imagine today, more and more AI demonstrate similar qualities, knowledgeability, intelligence, and creativity. I mean, many times they can do similar kind of knowledge work in a more cost-effective and efficient way. A recent survey shows more than half of American companies are turning to AI to replace humans to do this kind of knowledge work. Because they want to cut costs and boost profits. So it seems very soon, not just our body potentialities, our brain potentialities will be automated away. And imagine, sorry, okay. I only have 7 minutes. Imagine we are going to rely more and more on AI to pull insights from large data. So what will be left for us to do if there are still jobs? I only have 7 minutes, sorry. I have to continue. And if there are still jobs left us to do, we have to do things that AI cannot do, right? The kind of things Mary Ellen mentioned, right? Like getting data, processing data, annotating data, preparing data, cleaning the data, so we can feed the data for AI to do analysis. Instead of doing design and writing reports, we will have AI write reports and do design for us. So what we need to do, we have to review the work produced by AI to spot whether there are any mistakes or errors. In other words, with AI taking over more and more these high-level types of work, what left us to do will be more and more this kind of boring, manual, and low-value kinds of work. Are you going to find meaning in doing that kind of work? Are you going to find self-worth in doing that kind of work? And some might argue that, okay, with AI being more efficient and productive in the system, we're going to have more time to ourselves. We're going to enjoy our lives more, and we're going to find meanings beyond work. But that's a very naive idea. Think about what IT has done to us. With IT being more efficient and productive, do you have more time to yourself? Think about today in academia, like every field, in the field of HCI, for example, we are so productive. We are producing more papers than ever. And in the field of HCI, human-computer interaction, the top conference, CHI, every year we see more than 25% of increase in submissions. We are so productive that to the extent that it's so challenging for us to find the reviewers, quality reviewers to review the work. And so what's the result? The review quality is going down. The quality of the published work is going down. And the quality of the conference is going down. Our community is not sustainable. So the machine is like, to some extent, it's like the spinning wheel, and we are like Jimbos running on the wheel. When the machine is running ever faster, we have to run ever faster on it. So is this the world you like to live in? Certainly it's not the kind of world I would like to live in. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Speaker. So, as the Deputy Speaker says, I'm not an expert here this evening. I'm a layman. I'm coming to this relatively fresh. But I am going to argue that AI does more good than harm. I am going to accept that the case is finely balanced, but I'm going to base my case on two fundamental things: a basic trust and belief in human nature, and the really, really weird trend for people suddenly buying vinyl records. Hold that thought. I'm going to come back to it. But first of all, I just want to make the case for why AI is doing so much good at the moment. And I don't think this is disputable. We've talked about, my colleague very, very eloquently talked about healthcare. Now, you don't even have to look at the future at the moment to see how AI is doing extraordinary benefits in the world of healthcare. Able to automate X-ray scans, examine skin conditions far, far better than the best specialist. And that's happening right now. And look at the future. This will probably not last me. I'll probably be dead by the time this happens. But AI is going to transform the way that healthcare is done for you lot. It's going to transform diagnostics, meaning no long waiting times to get your heart disease confirmed. It's going to transform treatment. You won't have to wait years for a drug trial to happen before brilliant new medicines come on to cure cancer. AI will fix that one too. Waiting for a GP, doesn't matter. You're going to have an AI nurse or an AI doctor helping you and telling you what diseases you're prone to, how to prevent yourself getting sick. All this is coming down the track, and it's going to make people's lives longer and happier. Yes, I will take an intervention.
Isn't this just going to be an excuse for them to further defund the NHS? I mean,
this is going to save the AI is going to save the NHS by helping with bureaucracy and ensuring that the NHS can cope with an aging population. If you knew anything about politics, you'd know that. Now look, there's so many other things. Food. AI is going to sort out food because you won't have to kill cows anymore because we're going to be able to sort out, grow beef cells in vitro. Industry and commerce. You can read all about this. It's going to make us more productive and efficient. The environment. Forget about burning coal. AI is going to develop renewable energy sources, reduce the impacts of construction on the planet, make buildings more efficient, reduce our carbon imprint. The housework, you won't have to do any of that. There's going to be a robot. Entertainment, VR is going to be... Look, this is fantastic. Yeah, by all means, carry on.
So, what about all the cost, environmental cost in developing, training those tools, for example?
Look, the environment... I'm afraid this is a 20th century mindset. Get with the program. This is going to be absolutely fantastic. Look, that's the case for. It's going to transform your lives. It's going to make your lives amazing. But as I said at the beginning, the case is balanced because, as our opponents have already said, and I'm sure they're going to make this case again, there is a potential for AI to do damage. Now, let me first of all disagree with one big point, which is that AI is somehow going to destroy humanity. It's all going to turn us into Keanu Reeves in The Matrix, blow up the world, because AI thinks that somehow, it needs to kind of destroy us in order to stop the planet burning. Bollocks! It's complete bollocks. That's just exactly what happens. Humanity has this tendency to dramatize and catastrophize. This is what science fiction tells us. So forget about that. No, I think the danger that you do have to accept is that, as we see right now, we're all kind of slaves to the algorithm, and this is what could happen with AI if we're not careful, that we end up, spending far too much time on our phones, and the risk of AI is that it observes our patterns of behavior, our routines, and our interests, begins to influence both the things that we think about doing and the things we consciously decide to do. And this is a risk. I accept that.
Hear, hear.
I accept that. It's a total risk. But this is where vinyl comes in. I told you about vinyl. And I'm going to come back to vinyl. Why are people buying vinyl right now? What's the point of vinyl when you've got Spotify, when you've got digitized music? There's no reason for vinyl, is there? I mean, vinyl is a limiting thing. Why are we bothering when we could just have as much digital music as we like? Well, I'll tell you why it is. It's because, my friends, LPs are beautiful, tangible things. It turns out going into a record shop and flicking through LPs is a lovely, lovely way to pass the time. It turns out that in a world of limitless choice, sometimes it's nice to choose something limiting. In other words, the fact that vinyl has made a comeback, despite all the advances in digital, it shows that people still search for something that feels authentic and human. And that is what is going to carry on. Despite all of the things, all the worries about AI, despite all the fears that it's going to turn us into slaves to the bots, it's not going to happen because we're going to stay human. So I have more faith that either voluntarily or through legislation, we're going to keep going back to vinyl. Seek out the human, the authentic, the beautiful in life. AI is going to do a huge amount of good. I think I've already explained that this evening. The harm it does to us, we've got to watch out for that. But I oppose the motion tonight because I've got faith that we humans will always know what it means to be human, and if you believe the case for that too, then I urge you to back us this evening. Thank you.
Honourable members, distinguished guests upstairs there. My concern is that this debate is taking a too sensationalist approach, and my goal is the one to bring back and be grounded on empirical facts. We live in an age where technology promises to solve all of our problems, and sometimes even before we realize we have those problems. AI is considered panacea for everything nowadays, from improving healthcare or scientific discovery to revolutionize all of the other sectors of the economy, right? But behind this glowing facade, there is a much darker reality. With this speech, I will argue that AI, if left unchecked, improperly regulated, will do far more harm than good. And I will show you how AI very nature can amplify some of humanity's most troubling challenges, be it in the economy, in society, or even our private lives. I will address 5 main points. First, AI market manipulation in capital markets. This is the application domain of AI that I know the best, to be honest. The most resourceful players employ AI systems to make financial trading faster, smarter, and more efficient. Which is okay, right? But these systems can be so advanced that regardless of specific human intent, they may learn to manipulate markets and even to coordinate behavior among competitors and collude on markets. The phenomenon has become so widespread and complex that financial regulators around the world are considering new rules as well as investing in technology solutions themselves to improve the quality of law enforcement and deterrence against malicious actors. The truth is that we, public authorities, this we need to recognize, right? who are responsible of protecting financial stability, the integrity of markets. We are at technological disadvantage as opposed to private parties. And we also don't have visibility. So we are faced with information asymmetry, I would say, against the big private actors. As a consequence, our capital markets are rigged, and disruptions such as flash crashes, rampant manipulation, can severely challenge the resilience of the financial system, and with this, that of society. My second point is about recommender systems and their risk of manipulating behavior of users up to creating addiction. Yeah? Recommender systems are systems like Alexa, perhaps you have at home, all of you. The risks related to recommender systems are especially evident in the case of social media and digital platforms powered by AI. Recommender systems are often designed in a way to exploit user cognitive biases, thus fueling addiction and causing mental health issues, especially among the most vulnerable in society, including teenagers. Please.
Well, you said about mental health, but actually people that they have mental issues, they can benefit from these systems because it allows them access to information.
We don't need to create new problems and then hoping that AI will help to solve those. Thank you for your intervention.
Mental health is not a new problem.
My third, no, new problems through AI, through recommender system, for example, addiction. Yeah? My third point is about deepfakes and the erosion of trust in society. Indeed, deepfakes are an alarming and even terrifying development introduced by innovation. AI-generated content, such as text, audio, video, can be misused as a tool for misinformation, fraud, and even revenge. One striking example of revenge is the use of deepfake in relation to nudes and sexual images, like in cases of revenge porn. Indeed, these are horrifying reality for many victims whose images have been manipulated without their consent. Moreover, deepfakes, but also other AI tools, are used by sophisticated malicious actors to carry out financial fraud and other illegal actions. The data provided by the Interpol this year report are alarming. At least 1 in 5 citizens has been the target of an attack this year. Unfortunately, in 1 minute, I cannot say much more. I would have liked to cover about sustainability dilemma. AI development is not sustainable. I would like to talk about complexity, maybe perhaps after with some drinks. But let me now reach my conclusions. Am I saying that AI has no benefits? Of course not. It can accelerate research, improve healthcare, and make daily life more convenient. But we must ask ourselves, at what cost? Who defines what progress means? And who benefits from it?
All of us.
If you allow private entities, driven by profit and power, to set the agenda, the harm of AI will overshadow its benefit. So I leave you with one question. Can we really afford to unleash AI without fully understanding it, without controlling it? That's it.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Honourable and right honourable members of the Chamber, distinguished guests in the gallery, and Mike. Thinking about this question, I want to take umbrage with one of the assumptions here. When we're talking about artificial intelligence, I think we're kind of bastardizing the English language a bit when we are attributing this term to things like ChatGPT. We are actually playing into the hands of tech bros who are doing a clever marketing exercise to make their thing sound clever. Really, we don't have anything that should be called artificial intelligence, and we probably won't ever. So, it won't do more harm than good. No. Sorry, I acknowledge that's a cheap argument. So I will concede graciously to calling all these large language models, diffusion models, et al., as AI. And there are serious concerns with these things. I think there are like 4 big groups of concerns. I won't have time to discuss all of them now. I'm going to start with the four real concerns, I think, that I have are exacerbating climate change, enabling serious harms that already exist, the loss of jobs, and the deleterious effects upon human actions, accomplishments, and values. I think the first 2 of these are the ones that worry most, so I'm going to attack those first. And if we have time in the discussion, we can get onto some of the others. I'm going to suggest that we are mitigating these harms already, and we continue to do so in the future, so to ensure that AI will do more harm than good. Good than harm. Oh, almost. So climate change. Climate change is really bad, guys. I'm really concerned about climate change. I actually think it's much worse than most people think. I expect that we will not only exceed the 1.5 degree target from the Paris Accords, but I think we'll pass 2 degrees and probably 3 degrees even within my lifetime. This will result in hundreds of millions of climate refugees, perhaps billions, an incredible reduction of our capacity to grow crops, and the extinctions of millions of species. And that sucks, frankly. And we also know that the data centers that we need to run these so-called AIs are using a lot of energy. This increases the carbon footprint of these companies significantly. You'll see that Financial Times reported a few months ago that Microsoft emissions went up 30% while they were trying to catch up with Google et al. On the AI race.
Are you on our side? Thank you. You know?
Don't worry. So this has meant that these companies are missing their climate targets, and the number of users and queries of these large language models keep increasing. So you might think I should be petrified that this is going to be the final nail on the coffin.
Hear, hear.
Yeah.
But no! Actually, I think we've got good reason to suppose that the companies will respond to this problem. One reason for that is the negative press they've already had as a result of this. Another reason is that they've already started to mitigate this. They've already started using alternative sources. You may have seen just this week that Microsoft are now going to be using 3 Mile Island to power a data center. Nuclear reactor powering a data center. And Google are following suit. So, there we go. We've got mitigation for this already. Nah.
Yeah, nukes are much better.
And also, we're going to expect more of this investment in renewable energy as a result of this, because these companies have an interest in looking good. So even if we don't think they have our best interests at heart, they're going to do some good things here. So somewhat perversely, the AI explosion may end up benefiting the climate change cause. Sorry, I can't take one now. It's too late. The other risk I have in mind was enabling serious harms. You might think that terrorists and similar bad actors may be able to use AI to do lots of really bad things. But a recent study by Newton and Lucas actually suggested that they've tried this. They've tried setting experts to see whether they could plan a biological attack better with AI or without, and there's no real difference. And because of research that I've done with my colleague over there about the limits of AI, we've got reasons to doubt it's actually going to be helpful in creating new risks here. What we will get is it's going to help people finding things they can already find because it's scraping from the internet, or, to use the technical term, bullshitting. However, so those are two of the big risks. The benefits, though, are enormous. We've already heard of the health consequences. We have increased cancer rate detection. There's also loads of good academic stuff. So you went over by about 40 seconds. Outrageous. But it's all right, because my case is already demonstrated. Thank you very much.
Deputy Speaker, right and left honorable members of the Chamber, distinguished guests in the gallery, and my cufflinked co-author. I'm going to argue that AI does more harm than good, and I'm going to focus on generative AI tools like ChatGPT and diffusion models like DALL-E. I think that these tools have almost no beneficial use cases, but they have a serious environmental cost. Consequently, I think it's obvious that they do more harm than good. They're a distraction from our real problems and from the challenges we face, especially the challenge of climate change, which has already been raised for some reason by the opposition, making our case for us. So the first thing I'd like to ask is, what is the point of generative AI tools like ChatGPT and DALL-E? What are they good for? Well, primarily they can write a half-decent first or second year essay. But you can already do that, and you haven't even graduated yet. And their third year essays, honestly, are terrible. Whereas you guys do okay on a third year essay. They can generate schlocky images and videos, but we're already able to recognize the sort of bubbly fakeness of the AI images, and we are already repelled by them. We would rather see images generated by humans. What other use cases might there be? Well, currently one of the biggest barriers to phishing attacks and hacking attacks on companies is that the hackers are pretty bad at writing emails in the language of their targets. When they write an email to a company here in the United Kingdom or America or the Netherlands, and they're writing the email from, say, North Korea or Russia, they don't know how to write an email that's going to convince someone to click on the link. Well, guess what? ChatGPT can write an email that looks like it came from your boss and asks you to open a document. This is going to be a huge boon to fraudsters. Yes?
How are you able to compare the very rare instances that maybe sometimes happens, the fact that people are literally getting like extra years added onto their lives by having early detection systems in healthcare? Like, how do you weigh that up?
So I'm not addressing the medical benefits here, and I am focusing specifically on large language models and generative AI. I concede that there are medical benefits to machine learning, but I think that those systems are significantly different from the generative AI systems that are debated. Yeah. All right.
Can I ask, have you ever used ChatGPT?
Yeah.
So what? So you've used it then?
Yeah, it was terrible.
But you just said it was useless.
Ah, I see. I used it to see how bad it would be. and I was right. It was as bad as I expected. Another apparent application of these tools is to generate large bot farms that can be used to manipulate social media and make it look like different political causes or even just normal social causes like cases in courts have support on one side or another that is not reflective in the actual opinions of humans. This used to be difficult. You used to have to hire people to write scripts and then program bots to put these out on Twitter or Facebook. Now you can get ChatGPT to write them and have hundreds or thousands of tweets or posts on your topic far too easily. This is not a good application, but it's, yeah?
Well, have you considered that if we don't advance the technology, then others will do it for us, and then you're going to have all these things against us without having the protection?
I don't think that one bot farm is defense against another bot farm. The more false propaganda there is out there, the worse off we are, whether it comes from quote-unquote our side or another side. I'm just going to conclude by asking what the cost is. The cost is massive. Currently, as my opponent has so aptly pointed out, major corporations like Microsoft and Google are already claiming that they're going to miss their climate goals by 2030 because they're building data centers for ChatGPT. Every time you use ChatGPT to write a paper, you're contributing to that. The data centers that these companies are building are on target to use 2 to 3% of the world's electricity usage by 2030. Now, we're facing really catastrophic climate change. Even if these companies use clean energy to generate that electricity, that's electricity that could be better used for things that we need, like heat in our houses. Or light, yeah. And it's kind of a waste to apply it to things like DALL-E. Thanks. It does more harm than good. The harms are big. The good is small.
Yeah. I feel like that needs to be said. Thanks, Isaac. Right. Deputy Speaker, Honourable and Right Honourable Members of the Chamber and distinguished strangers in the gallery. Yeah, I'd like to start my time by saying it's an absolute honour to be speaking in the Chamber with so many experts who have dedicated so much of their time and lives to actually doing research in the field. I do not know much about AI. Coulson just couldn't get another person to speak in this, so here I am to round it off. You can ask my flatmates. I spent all of yesterday morning looking up really insane questions in Google, like what is AI? Will AI take over the world? 3 reasons why not? That kind of stuff. But yeah, that being said, in the next 4 minutes and 30 seconds, I'm going to compare the arguments that we've heard from both sides and try and weigh up on our side, and then maybe offer a new perspective to kind of change your minds and have you vote for our side. So obviously, side government's made a really strong case for the dangers and threats that AI poses to our world, such as generative AI, like making creativity redundant, and like job redundancy, we're going to do boring things, all that kind of stuff, deep fakes. But I think a few pieces of rebuttal I want to give to that is, first of all, who here actually just like asks ChatGPT to like write you a book and then reads it? We don't, right? Like we still value human creativity. We know, we can tell when something's fake. I've never been like, oh, I need a new book. Instead of going to the bookstore and paying for a book that was written by a human that has human intelligence and emotion conveyed through it, I'm just going to ask ChatGPT to write me a story and then I'm going to enjoy that. That's just not how we work, right? I think that's quite intuitive to understand. Second of all, I think in job redundancy from the second speaker of government, I think that is actually almost the opposite case. I don't really know if I have any proof of this, but that's just kind of what I believe. Like, I just feel like, if AI is able to do all the, like, really, like, cool... No, hear me out. I think if AI is able to do the really cool, like, data programming, understanding, I don't know, sensory language processing, is that what it was? Whatever it was, right? I think that probably means that all the admin boring stuff that's probably, like, we're being forced to do currently gets done by the computers who have no feelings, don't need to take breaks and go for coffee and lunch and all that stuff. We get to do the fun things, like actually having human interaction face-to-face, like doctors having more time to speak to their patients, lawyers actually getting to chat to their clients without having to, like, spend ages on the laptop looking up one piece of case to reference when they go to trial, like that kind of stuff, right? But I think while all of this is true, while all of this is true and is a definite harm, I just think it does get outweighed by the amount of incredible advancements that we've had in human life that AI has literally given us. Take, for example, the 40 to 50,000 people that die every year of a natural disaster, and the entire countries that have their entire economies collapse because they can't recover in the aftermath and try and rebuild. Obviously, AI can't stop a natural disaster. The earthquake's going to quake. But what it can do is analyze vast amounts of data to predict natural disasters and improve early warning systems. This means that people have more time to evacuate and get out, right? And even in the medical field, like my colleague said, detection has been an absolute game changer. This means, I know it sounds like a lot of jargon to say, early detection systems mean that you can, detect breast cancer and all that kind of stuff, but what this actually means on the ground is a few more months a mother has with her children, a few more months someone has to actually figure out what the next step in their diagnosis process is. AI can even actually, give you very tailored treatment plans and, access, your individual genetic profiles and improve the effectiveness of treatments and reduce side effects, all that kind of stuff. Fun fact, ChatGPT wrote that section for me because I didn't actually know how to do it. See, it is useful, and could you tell? No, because I added my own human spin on it, and I did little quirky things, and I made it more human. But it also meant that I got to do my law work today instead of having to spend hours writing a speech. But yeah, no, oh yeah, sure, go on. Yeah, go on.
You are making misinformation here, darling, I think. Because, yeah, well, you can also offer some evidence if you like. What we are discussing here, the real problem is the people behind AI, not just innocuous AI tools that can help you to write a piece that otherwise you couldn't speak today here, right? Absolutely.
So I think that's actually a great way to lead on, right? Because I think that a new perspective needs to come into play. I think we've all cherry-picked really good examples of when it's good and bad. I just did that right now, I'm to blame as well. But I think that instead of arguing that AI is dangerous, AI is bad for the environment, AI causes ethical concerns, AI is biased, we need to replace this with who is controlling AI. We are biased. We are causing environmental damage. We are dangerous, right? It's not AI can only do what we program it to do. But this doesn't mean that AI is more harmful than good just because some people use it in irresponsible ways. Think about it. We don't prohibit or argue against so many things in the world just because some people want to ruin it for others. We don't say there's no inherent value in football because some football fans want to be dickheads and, like, cause destruction. We don't say that social media is bad because some people make deepfakes. We still use it, and we have to trust in each other and the good faith of humanity that some of us are going to actually be able to hold other people to account. And for regulations, like one of the people on the government said, right? I just think that in understanding this, there's a bit of hope that Thai government hasn't actually reckoned with. If there does exist accountability within AI, because human beings are the ones that control it, and we can put human beings to account, then we can say that AI can be more beneficial than harmful. We must call upon the institutions, the governments, the companies, all of those who may be tempted for the sake of efficiency and capitalism and expansion to control AI and use it in selfish ways, hold them account to the way that they manipulate such systems. This looks like lobbying companies who don't care about the environmental concerns of, like, their data systems, or, like, I don't know, like protesting against governments who use AI to, like, track their citizens. I know that I'm a good person. I know that a lot of people I know are good people. I know that people in numbers can actually make change. And so I do just think that if we have faith in us, which I do, and I hope you all do as well, we can actually make the regulations we need to see in the world and make sure that AI does more good than harm. Be good, make AI good. Thank you. Vote side opposition.
So first of all, I'd like to thank the Performance Society and the Film Society for collaborating with us. They were very helpful at advertising and getting people here. I would also like to announce next week, if you're interested in speaking in the chamber and wonder why I called Rhea honourable, would you still love the honours of world? We make these things called parley. They are 12-hour events. You do not have to stay for the whole time. You can get to come down and join one of 5 big political parties and give a speech in this chamber on some free interactive, some free bills that are being passed. And it's a good fun to meet people. You get to dress up in businesswear and get to speak in this chamber. And it's a really good way to build up your rhetoric, as well as a really safe way to practice public speaking. It is such a useful skill. I've used it so many times in my student life, and then as I'm moving into my business life. If you're interested in that, we do a free debate on Monday. This is where you come and sign up for a speech. It's at 6 p.m. The GU just at the front door. You'll hear from our 5 party leaders. They will have different weird ideologies from, like, communism to anarchism to authoritarians, and then we have, like, liberals and Tories. So that's exciting. But yeah, it's a really good chance to meet people and make some friends and speak in the chamber. I'd also like to give a chance to our sister societies, Alessio, if you have anything to announce.
Hello, yes. So some of you may know already, but we have announced our new members' dinner, which will be on the 6th of November. Tickets are on sale. You can find the link through our Instagram, or if you come to debate training, they will also be on sale there. It's one of 2 big fancy dinners in the year, so it's a chance to kind of get all dressed up. We have a lot of fun on tradition, and we would love to see you there.
We'd like to go into the Q&A session. If anyone has any questions, just raise your hand. We have a lot of experts here, and we'll limit the speeches to at least only a maximum 1 minute. Does anyone have any questions? Yeah?
On the topic of the general government's opinions, a lot of these opinions in terms of environmental concerns and concerns about misinformation being spread sound like more of a meta commentary of people's general concerns with capitalism itself, in terms of they don't like corporations having control of the media, and there's almost like decentralization of propaganda, in terms of the general sort of commodification of human interactions, in terms of the relentless pursuit into better and better tools at the cost of
moment, so it's possibly not a coincidence. It's hard to disentangle big companies from big evil companies doing AI things, but it is true that a lot of the very biggest, most profitable companies in the world right now are doing this. So I think taking into account the fact that it's big corporations is an important part of the possible harm that could be done. So that's my answer, basically.
Yeah, I would make the counterpoint that, look, I think what you've seized upon is throughout history, we can look back through industrial history, we have seen Luddites who oppose whenever a new technology comes along, a disruptive technology comes along, be it the steam engine, being it the cotton mills, you see people opposing it because people fear change, and that's exactly what we're getting right now. That does not mean, of course, that the change that people have brought in is going to, in the long run, damage society. By absolute contrast, in fact, what it does is makes us more productive, adds to the sum of human happiness.
Yeah, I just want to say, when it comes to AI models specifically, part of our case wasn't just that they're environmentally damaging. It was that they don't have very many clear uses. Medical uses are one, but things like ChatGPT don't have. The steam engine is obviously incredibly useful. You know, but cellular phones incredibly useful. You've defined your entire debate on the basis of ChatGPT. AI is massively more than ChatGPT. This is ridiculous. Yeah. Where is all the investment going right now? How much money is going into medical applications relative to?
It'll go there because we need it. It'll go there because that's how we're going to fix it.
I don't. I mean, maybe this is another complaint against capitalism, but I think it's putting its money in the wrong basket right now.
Everyone will use ChatGPT because it will have a summary of what you want and the references where you can find more details. So.
Well, currently it gives you the references where there's nothing, and it's not clear they're going to solve that problem.
We'll go to just the we'll go to the next question. So yeah.
Hello. Thank you for everyone who's attended. Thank you to the lovely speakers and the committee members, to all the societies that have made today possible. I have an incredibly important question, which is which bar are we going to for drinks after?
There's also beer bar downstairs. I think open mics happening there. So if you're interested in some live music, that will also be happening there. So one of the two.
You find out after the debate, you'll get your pint.
And of course, we should say that even when AI is 30 time, we'll still be wanting to go for drinks with each other. We'll still be wanting to kind of enjoy live music.
My question is kind of for both sides. So obviously AI is kind of fairly new field. It's only been the last 5 years that it's really come to light for public use. My question is, in these last 3-5 years, we've not seen as much growth. So from ChatGPT 3 to ChatGPT 4, there hasn't been as much as was promised to us. Obviously, there's rumors that it might go crazy soon, like the general AI has already been developed, but people aren't releasing it. Obviously, that's just rumors, but from what we can see, there hasn't been that much proof that there's that much good generative AI or good medical users. So my question is, would AI even get that dangerous, that generative AI gets dangerous and we can't recognize the videos that are fake? Or for the medicine side, would AI get that good that we're unable to recognize the niche medical problems that would help like actual doctors?
Well, there are already products that have FDA approvals and they use AI. So we're doing research to accelerate the acquisition, for example, of MRI. So things are integrated slowly into practice, either people they have this knowledge or not.
So you would say it would replace it just because you might not be able to find those niche problems. So that's probably good. I'm saying that's good.
Can I add something? I think healthcare is one of the best use cases in which you see. Now I'm speaking outside. It's one of those use cases where you actually see improvements being brought by AI systems and tools. The problem is that with AI, it's the human behind it. So the real issue here is how we make sure that we're able to take the real needs behind AI. weapons of mass distractions. Really can be, for you if you're interested in the topic, starting readings to get a sense of what is the state of the debate at the moment. And I close here. Most of the AI use cases are mainly experimental. No domains, including ChatGPT.
I've one final, I've got two more questions, and then Sharon, well,
thank you. I wanted to ask, in the neoliberal society in which we live, it does seem that many of the existing issues that we have are going to be massively exacerbated by AI. So, for instance, when it comes to things like overconsumption, it's not that necessarily AI is necessarily having a direct effect on climate change by the consumption of AI, but it's more as if AI is able to create marketing that is so powerful by analysing so much data so rapidly that it causes people to buy, for instance, far more than is necessary, and it exacerbates issues of climate change, just as one example of what AI can do. In addition, also for political parties and social control, we see that AI is able to exacerbate these issues as well. So it's not necessarily an issue of AI is necessarily causing new issues, it's exacerbating the issues that we have. And in a society where people are so, politicians are so reluctant to regulate it, it feels that AI is massively outpacing our ability to regulate it and will ultimately create a much more malicious society.
I mean, it sounds simple, but in response to that, I would just say that if we're honest university students, we're able to watch, a 45-minute video on AI and recognize this ourselves, why is everyone not recognizing it? I think we all do recognize that there are inherent dangers. That's why we don't take everything that AI gives us without a grain of salt with it, right? We have some sort of hesitancy. We know it's not real human intelligence. We know it's not maybe it starts like that, but it doesn't, at the end of it, it's not purely human intelligence that the computers also do, from what I understand about it. Computers also do a lot of work, and I do think that I can't see you, I'm trying to look at you responsive, I don't know where, oh, hello. Yeah, I would just say that, I think if you're aware of it, then so many people are probably aware of it. We're all kind of aware of this, so I don't think it's going to just, blindside us, and all of a sudden we have, World War III, AI taking over. I think we already understand that we need to regulate it, and we're doing so. There's legislation already being passed in the UK in order to regulate AI and hold it to account, and then hold the people the companies who are using it to account. So I just don't think that it's going to hit us out of nowhere, and we're going to be too far gone to ever come back from it.
I mean, if it's something that needs to be regulated to this extent, are we, our debate is does it do more harm than good? If it's something that needs, it exacerbates all of society's worst urges and we need to regulate it. I think that makes the case for our side, that if it's balancing harm and good, I think...
We regulate water, we regulate television, we regulate cars. Of course we regulate loads of things that are undisputably good. None of us on this side are suggesting that we shouldn't have regulation. Of course we're in favour of regulation. That's not what's going to help secure the good things that we can get and mitigate the harms that we acknowledge could happen. On top of the point that might exacerbate some of the risks, just going to exacerbate the existing risks. Turning to the climate change point, one of the points I didn't get to make during my speech, so I'll do it quickly now. The very Nobel Prize that just went for physics for the machine learning development based on based on concepts of physics. One example of the use cases for this is working out which versions of the material may have the best properties for use in more efficient solar cells. This is already being used to make our renewable energy better. There we go. We're solving things already. AI is the future!
I
human nature. Maybe I'm just way too much of an optimist, and I just think that maybe I'm a lot better than I actually am. But I think in general, I just think that if everyone is aware that AI could be really bad and that, like, it's not controlled by one single person, right? It's not just you as a kid having control over all of the possible ramifications of AI. It's not just me. There are enough people to keep the people who might do bad things with it in account, right? And even if everyone's not naturally good, I think that like with regulation, with like laws actually like putting like a consequence and like you have to go behind bars or like financial incentives on it, would probably mean that people, even if they all want to do bad things or selfish things with it, have an incentive directly now not to do it, right? But I also just do hope that we're not all horrible people, we don't all use AI for bad. But even if we do, I think the deeper root of my point is that just because humans engage with an idea or a concept in bad ways does not mean that that concept doesn't have value inherently. Like there are so many things that just are good, but because I make it bad doesn't make it overall bad, right? Like I think if people can find use in AI that's good, then it probably is able to outweigh the harm. Does that Yeah, but I mean, I also think it's a risk that the internet exists, that people can, you know, if I want, I could have 7 beers right now and then go drive a car down University Avenue. But like, that doesn't mean we ban cars, does it? Like, I think there's so many risks, and you kind of have also, it's not going away anytime soon, is it? It exists. We can't really, all we can do now is try and control it. And I think that more optimistic mindset is probably a better one to have. I think if we just look at it and say, we're going to fearmonger, we're going to be scared of it, then it's not really going to get us to go anywhere. I just think that we have optimism, a little bit of faith in humanity.
We'll give one of the other speakers one
I hope that answers.
a chance to respond, and then we'll call a vote back.
Oh, can I speak? Okay, great. My worry, I accept some of the points made by the opposition. Great. That we can recognize the harms in AI, and there's the possibility to regulate them. But I'd just like to point out that even though I think I'm an optimist about humanity, I think we have to recognize that there are many cases in which we recognize a harm, and most people recognize we need to regulate it, and we do not do so because the people who are perpetuating that harm have a lot of money and power. And we know who currently has the money and power when it comes to regulating AI, and it's the large tech companies, and they don't want AI regulated. So just the fact that we can see that this has the potential for harm and that we need to regulate it gives us no strong reason to expect that to happen.
Well, the government, you regulate it.
I plan to.
So our debate will be one, at the end we do a vote affirmation. So if you support the bill, therefore believe AI is more harm than good, you'll cheer, and we'll ask the same to the opposition, you'll cheer, and then we decide whoever makes the louder clapping and cheering wins the debate.
You said does more harm than good. Will do more harm.
Will do more harm, yes.
It's very different